again. Welcome to the Golden Hour. I am your host, Golden Duffy, and oh boy, do I have a treat for us today. I am super excited about my next guest. I have Dr. Joshua Sharpe. He is a wellness coordinator and educator who specializes in understanding the dynamics that happen in the body and the relationship between posture, stress, hormones, and the ability to get healthy results in your life. In 2014, his brother was diagnosed with leukemia, and he got to see the inside of the medical world and thought there must be another way. He decided to go back to school and become a chiropractor to give and serve to his community and to give people an alternative way to approach health. He is also a proud veteran, so grateful for that, and former Air Force intelligence officer who served with special forces in Afghanistan in 2007. In the corporate space, he has generated $15 million in sales annually for a Fortune 100 company. He supports organizations like Bunker Labs, Heals Las Vegas, and the Southern Nevada Veterans Chamber of Commerce. These programs help veterans and raise awareness for health issues in Las Vegas. He's helped transform the lives of hundreds of entrepreneurs by helping them regain their energy and vitality to create even more abundance in all areas of their life. This guy is like right up my alley. Welcome, Dr. Joshua.
Thank you. Appreciate the introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. This is one of my favorite conversations because abundance is health, right? If we don't have that, we have nothing.
Yeah, I had a dinner talk on Monday, and I just asked the question like, hey, if I could give you $10 million tomorrow, how would you feel? And everybody was like, oh, I'd be happy, I'd be excited. And I had one guy in the crowd who's like, well, I want to know the fine print. And I'm like, well, okay, the fine print is you can't wake up the day after. So you just get the 10 million for that one day. Would you take the money? And everybody universally said no. And it's like, okay, well, then which is more important, the money or your health? And it becomes in your life, and it becomes immediately obvious when we put it in those terms, like, okay, that there is a hierarchical value to this. So abundance is health. It's abundance is wealth. It's all those things. I think I might have lost you there.
That's amazing. Because life is currency, right? Like people don't realize, like if you don't have your health and you don't wake up feeling vital every day, you're not living your best life.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I read a little bit about your background and what got you interested in chiropractic care. Can you just share a little bit more about that journey?
Yeah, so
because you've done a lot of things.
Yeah, I've squeezed a lot of I had a lot of juice out of the squeeze so far of life. So I got out of the service, was in the corporate world for a bit, and really struggled with just alcoholism, depression, anxiety, PTSD. It took me a good 4 years to kind of unwind from that. And I found the work that I do now, I was a patient of it for a good 2 years. And then it really allowed me to heal and become functional again. There was a period of my life where I was just not functional. I lost my house, lost my job, just, packed up all I owned at the time in my Jeep and just kind of traveled around, lived on friends' couches.
Wow.
There's couch surfing before there was Airbnb. Airbnb is like the adult version of couch surfing. I was couch surfing back in the day, and just really trying to find myself and to figure life out. And I was already on this journey of healing myself. I had developed a kind of a self-employed marketing consulting practice, and my brother was diagnosed with leukemia in 2014, and my wife and I moved in with him and his family. He was in the hospital 24/7 for the first kind of 2.5 months. He went through 2 rounds of chemo. We had somebody there with him 24/7. So either it was me, my dad, my mom, or his wife who would rotate kind of being with him in care. And my then consulting practice just kind of evaporated overnight. I would open my laptop and just stare at a blank screen and pretty much told all my clients, like, listen, I can't help you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when it looked like he was going to be okay, he ended up passing, within about a year. But that first period, it looked like he was going to be fine. We celebrated his 30th birthday in the hospital. the doctors were like, oh, he's young, he's going to get through this, it's going to be great. I mean, there was a series of other things that happened later, but that initial looked like he was going to be all right. And my wife and I just had a conversation. We had to make a decision of like, okay, what do we do? Do we go back to LA and recreate the business that we did before? We could do that. Or I just really felt called to do something about health. Having just seen the inside of the medical world, it differed so much from that philosophy, that journey that I had, my own healing. The philosophy was just so different, and
Right.
it was at odds with the the kind of the traditional medical model. There was just such a difference in that philosophy that I just felt called, like I really need to do something about this, and it put me on the road back to school to
Awesome.
radically change career fields again.
Wow. The man who recreates himself over and over again.
Yeah.
That's incredible, and all of your experiences have lended so much to the work that you do now, and thank you for your service. I am
Well, thank you.
truly I feel like, as veterans, like, there needs to be so much more support than there has been, so I
Yeah.
love all the things that you're doing and how you've used your life experiences to call you to more. That's one of the things that I really promote for people is, stop shrinking away from things and start showing up and
Yeah.
asking yourself, "What can I do now that's exciting that I feel passionate about?" So that's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah. No,
amazing. So
thank you for that. There is a big need for vets. I mean, I see a lot of them in the practice. There's a few groups here that I participate with, and they're oftentimes you can't see the wounds.
yeah,
It's easy to see the guy that lost an arm or lost a leg or lost an eye, like that guy's visibly like, okay, hey, I see that there's a disability here. But
yeah,
it's the war within for
yeah,
guys when they come back, that the wounds that you don't see,
yeah,
that those are the hardest, because it's like, hey, you should be fine, just get over it, deal with it. And there's an abundance of research on PTSD, what we used to call shell shock. Like, I mean, it's all the way back to like World War II. It's what we called it then. So
sure.
it's we don't see it on the outside of what's happening with people on the inside.
Right, right. So let's talk about that a little bit because, people can go through their lives and kind of be on the surface of their life and feel like things are fine. And I know with PTSD, like you have these moments where you're not really in control. And I feel like that happens to many people that have PTSD from other traumas as well. So how
Yeah.
much is your what you do connected to that emotional field and healing the mental body so that the physical body can get in alignment?
Yeah, great question. So it's how the nervous system's organized. So at the base level of it, if we come from like the quantum physics perspective, right? We're
Yeah,
all energy. We're all one. We're in this, we're a singularity in this giant soup of energy, right? So
yeah,
that's kind of like the first premise to come from.
yeah,
So that what we used to think that it was, like Carillion photography, like Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, like where we used to think that it was the matter that was organizing the field. What we're now understanding more is the leading edge of science is telling us more. It's the field that's organizing matter. So if we
yes,
start from that principle, like, okay, fields organizing matter, energy is organizing the matter. It's then organizing our nervous system. Our nervous system is then telling everything what to do. It's telling the muscles what to do. It's telling what our organs, what hormones to produce, what chemicals, what catalysts, what enzymes in the right quantity, up or down. All of that is, how to digest food, how for our heart to beat. All of that is the cascade effect of energy down to our nervous system to command everything else out.
yeah,
So if we go in that order of things, if we look at like, where medicine's really attacking things at like the chemical level,
yep,
which if you had to build a cascade, it's the very last thing that happens. It's like the chemical interactions of things are of the very last functionality that happens. So if we look at trauma is really stored. It's stored in the energy field. We think of energy information lives up here, but it's really everywhere.
yes,
It's in our body. It's in our tissues. It's in the field
yep,
in some ways too.
yep,
So if we don't address those areas, we're going to continue to live life, and it's almost like life is seeking to resolve that energy. That energy needs to come home.
yep,
There's a resolution that needs to happen there. And I think of I think of it like emotion, energy in motion. So that emotion that we have, it's stored in the tissues, it's stored in the body, and life is going to constantly give us circumstances, events that reflect that we're storing.
Yeah.
So if we had issues, and not just PTSD, but let's say it's childhood trauma, where we had issues where we felt abandoned, or we felt neglected, or we were smothered, we're gonna keep living life, attracting relationships, attracting circumstances in our life that are going to repeat that
Yep.
until we get with that and
Yes.
heal that and
Yes.
move it. Does that make sense? Making sense
It
with that?
makes total sense, and it was like the exact, show that I put up yesterday was totally about all of this. Like,
Okay,
we speak
cool.
we speak the same language, doctor. There's no
Cool.
doubt about it. I love it.
Yay.
I got the chills there for a second. So when it comes to that field, like that energetic connection that we have to what's like creating all this stuff in our body, would you say that it's based on the signal that we're sending out? Like, aren't we part of that co-creative process as far as like you said, the way that we're feeling and what we have going on internally, but also like what we have internally is what's going out and drawing the stuff back from the field. Do I have that right?
Yeah, exactly right. Like
Okay.
like our nervous system's an antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the field, and then it's also, let's put it this way. So we have these we have trauma,
Yeah.
and life is
Everybody.
trauma, right? So, and trauma can be a lot of things. Trauma
Yeah.
can be, physical trauma, can be car wrecks, could be falls, it could be bone breaks, it could be significant emotional events,
Yep.
breakups, divorces, deaths in the family, parents leaving, sexual abuse, physical abuse, like all of that is emotional in nature. Or it can be toxins, it can be chemicals that we're exposed to in our environment. All of that affects our nervous system.
Yep.
And what will happen with our nervous system is it actually changes shape.
Mm.
So it'll stretch this way, or it'll stretch one of these ways. It'll kind of do a combination of the two. And as it contorts and changes, it's almost like an antenna. It changes our posture, and then we start posturing through life, where we
Interesting.
start acting a certain way. We put up a certain mask. I need to be the pleaser. I need to be the yes person. I need to be an achiever, because that's what I need to do to feel worthy, to feel love, and I posture through life through
Yeah.
that posture.
Yep.
And some of these postures, I mean, there's a wound and a gift to every one of these. Some of these are wounds like,
Mm.
there's never gonna be enough time, there's never gonna be enough money. Versus the gift would be, I can trust in the timing of things. Things are always gonna work out as they need to. I'm always gonna be in the right place, the right time, with the right people, doing the right things.
Yep.
So that's like the gift of
Yep.
it. Or a
Yes.
wound could be, something was taken away from me, and now I feel scarcity, I feel lack. And the gift would be that which was taken away from me is mine to give. I'm the bringer of the light. I
Mm.
can, I because I had this wound, I can bring a gift to the world. So all of these wounds that we have can also be gifts that we bring to the world.
Amazing. I love that. And that's just a shift in perspective. And that shift in perspective actually allows you to respond in different ways that will actually create something new.
Right.
So good.
Cool.
I love it. I love it. All right. So we talked about the emotional field, like the kind of work that you do. So you do physical, emotional. Oh, wait. Why did you just get muted?
Because
Uh,
I'm coughing and drinking water.
oh, I got you. Okay. You muted yourself. Okay. I got it. That's actually really smart. I love that. All right. So when and I always say like when I'm coughing, like I'm clearing something in my throat. So like you're clearing something for the audience. That's what I always because I really believe that. I believe like people that are listening, they've got stuff going on. It's happened to me. I don't know if it happens to you with your clients, but it's happened with me where I'll just all of a sudden my throat just gets attacked and I'm like, okay, we're clearing something. Let's clear this
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
It's throat chakra, it's speaking your truth. It's all those people.
Completely. Completely. So, when it comes to like the emotional, so you do emotional, physical, kind of spiritual work with people, would you say, as far as like that, it's that whole body connection, getting people to realize, the pain and the sickness are not just those are just symptoms of what you have going on at a deeper level.
Right. So the way I think of it as, like, there's an innate intelligence that's running our body.
Yes.
Like we don't have to, if you had breakfast this morning, you don't have to think about how to digest it. You don't
Yep.
have to think about what enzymes to choose or how to break that protein down, or you don't have to make those choices. There were two cells that merged together to form one, and then that one formed two and four and eight. And I'm not going to do math beyond that,
Yep.
but we didn't have to think about any of that. Like
No.
it just happened. Birth is its own process. That's like we don't have to think about that
Yep.
process. It just does, right? So in my work, we separate out that innate intelligence to several different intelligences. One is the bioenergetic intelligence. It's our life force. It's our what in some traditional works would call chi or prana. It's that the ability for our organs to function and our movement to happen. Like all that's kind of in our bioenergetic. That
Okay.
bioenergetic lives in our bones and our discs and our ligaments. There's an emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is our ability to respond. You mentioned just responsibility, ability to respond. We can either respond or we can react.
Yep.
If we're not fueled into that emotional intelligence, we're going to react to
Yep.
things
Yep.
versus like, okay, I can take this in and I can now respond to it. That
Yep.
emotional intelligence lives in our muscles. It lives in our tendons.
Mm.
There's a mental intelligence. There's kind of two parts to mental. There's a lower mental, which you can see it develop in, like 3 to 7 year olds
Yep.
start to develop the lower mental, where everything's this or that. Like, don't give us like I have little kids, so I have I have three daughters. I have a 4, 7, and 20. So it's
Okay.
my wife and I have little kids right now, and I don't give my 4-year-old more than two options. It's
Right.
like, you want this one or this one. So
Yeah.
like that's the lower mental. It's our ability to make decisions. It's like this or that.
Yep.
When the lower mental is not fueled, you see this in like politics and things like that. It's like, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. It's like I'm this or that.
Yep.
It's very dividing.
Yep.
There's an upper mental intelligence that gives us the ability to make higher decisions, to put
Mhm.
all these different pieces together, to use our prefrontal cortex to make big decisions.
Yep.
And then there's a soul intelligence. There's our connection to whatever that is for you. So our
Yeah.
connection to beyond, soul, God, universe, Jesus, Buddha, Allah,
Yep.
whatever it is for you. There's something bigger than us. If you really get connected to that, there's something larger. There's something that controls the synchronicity of things and how life and circumstances and events just happen. And it's like, wow, when I'm in the flow of this, life just shows up for me. And there's a soul intelligence to that. And beyond that, there's really like oneness. Like, what's global soul? Like, what's the weaver kind of putting all together to put all these pieces in motion? It's like, wow, this looks like chaos, but it's really, man, if I look back in my life, it all just happened exactly how it needed to in the right order. And how the hell did that get orchestrated? And there's a divine
Right.
wisdom and intelligence to that I can't even explain. There's not even an explanation for it. Like, it's
Yeah.
beyond
I
words.
I always call it. I always say it's a giant setup.
Giant setup, sure.
It is. I'm like, we are being set up. Like when these things happen and they're so synchronistic and so miraculous, and it was literally something that I was thinking about, and all of a sudden it unfolds in front of me. I go, this is a setup. We're being set
Yeah.
up, like in the best way possible, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
It's hard because at the time it looks like it's all falling apart.
Yes.
When it really in reality, it's if we stay with it, if we don't fight the current, we kind of ride it a little bit. It's all falling together rather than
Yes.
falling apart.
Yes, I agree. Because things can't stay falling apart forever. There's a balance in the universe and everything always rights itself. That's my belief. And that's what I always see.
Yeah.
So I want to just touch on like what do you tell people? Because one thing that I'm seeing, and I'm not here to like put down doctors or medicine or anything like that, but I'm here to like help people open their consciousness to other ways of healing and health because I think we can do a lot better. I think that we're just masking symptoms and everybody's walking around with a low level of pain or suffering. What do you say to people that come to you and they're like, well, I've been diagnosed with this? Like, I see a lot of knee surgeries, and like a lot of that is like people just not taking care of their bodies and their bodies getting too heavy. But I'm seeing surgery like crazy. And the crazy thing about it is a lot of the surgeries I see, people are worse off after the surgery. So I work with a guy who does body work, and his philosophy is let's just strengthen the muscles around it and let's just like release the muscles around it because most of our stuff is tight muscles. And for me, like I had lower back pain for a long time. I've had knee pain. as soon as he gets in there and does his release work, my pain is gone. So I have evidence in my experience. I've never been diagnosed with anything like that I needed surgery for, because I won't really go to the doctors and ask them if they think I should. But what do you say to people? Like, I have people in my life who have degenerative discs and nothing left in their meniscus and all of this. And I'm just like, it's setting people up for this projection of their bodies, sending this signal to their bodies that they cannot heal without surgical procedures.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot stacked in that question.
Yeah.
I would say the first phase of that is we've become so disconnected from our bodies just as a
Mhm.
culture
Yep.
that we're disconnected from our intuition as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
And because we're not tapped into our own inner knowing and trusting that, then we're easily swayed to make
Totally.
not great decisions that aren't great for us.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that, there was a lot of conversation around, you know, the V word after the C word
Yeah.
in these last few years, right? And I and
Yep.
I had both sides, and my view for all of it, like, not my job to take a stance in this. My
Nope.
job was to say, help you get to your knowing of what you needed to do.
Yes.
And the people that they were like, I know I need to do this. It feels right to me. Great, they did it. They had great outcomes. The people said, no, this is not for me. I'm not going to do it. They had great outcomes. The ones that didn't were the ones who either said, I knew I should have got it and I didn't, or I knew I should not have got it and I did.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that had all the problems
Yeah.
afterwards that we had to work with.
Interesting.
On either side.
Yeah.
Either they didn't get it and then something else happened to them, or they did get it and had all these after symptoms.
Yeah.
So, I got to see enough of that it was just like, okay, but not my place to make the decision for you. I know what's right for me, and that's for me. If you want my opinion, great, I'll give it to you. But if it's more important is, let me help you get to your knowing and your opinion.
I love that.
Now, that's step one. Now,
Yeah.
from there, you're saying like, okay, what about medicine? I think there needs to be an understanding more of the difference between acute and chronic.
Yeah.
Medicine does acute really well. So when my brother was first diagnosed with leukemia, he had a rash, went to the emergency room, had some other symptoms that he had going on, and they did a blood test. And a normal white blood cell count is between like 2 and 10,000. Leukemia is 20,000 plus. His
Mhm.
white blood cell count came back at 100,000 on that initial test. So 5 times the level of what
Wow.
leukemia is. Arguably, the doctors were worried that his heart was going to stop because his blood was like sludge. So they rushed him to the emergency
Yeah.
room. They put a needle in his neck, pulled out his blood, spun in a centrifuge, and put the blood back in minus the white blood cells. Probably saved his life in that moment. Like
Sure.
that's we can make an argument that really saved his life. So
Yeah.
there's an acute situation, really great. Like, if my heart stops, please don't send me to a chiropractor. Put the paddles on me. Give me the
Yes.
shot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
Bring my heart back.
Yeah.
Now, take me to some of the other folks for care, chronic healing afterwards, because
Right.
frankly, the medical community doesn't do great at that kind of stuff. They're
Yeah.
really not.
Yeah.
So that's an acute situation. I think medicine is amazing acute. My arm falls off. Please do what you
Yes.
do best and put it back on. We can do that kind of stuff. It's really
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
Really cool.
Yes.
So medicine's amazing for that stuff. Where I think that they're less than amazing is the chronic stuff. And
Mhm.
these are these are autoimmune conditions. These are
Yep.
conditions like degenerative joint disease, musculoskeletal issues, the headaches, migraines, the cardiovascular issues. Like, all those are kind of long-term
Yeah.
issues that, frankly, medicine falls down on. I mean,
Mhm.
we spend the most in the US. We spend 20% of our GDP. We spend more than anybody else in the world by several factors of magnitude. And we have some of the worst outcomes across the board against other developed countries. Like, there's even some undeveloped countries that do better in some categories than
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So if spending money and doing what we're doing was the answer,
Yeah.
we would be number one in the world in every category because we're spending the most
Right.
compared
Right.
to everybody. But
Yeah.
That's the difference. And it's not a good or bad. I think there's a lot of really great, well-intentioned people. Like my sister-in-law was when my brother was diagnosed, she was a fourth year med student at the Ohio State Medical Center where she checked in.
Wow.
And she got into medicine to help people. And I
Of
think a lot of doctors do. But
course. Yep.
it's the system as a whole.
Yeah.
It's not designed to help people heal. They're
Yeah.
looking for a cure,
Yep.
and by definition, that you're never going to get there. Like
Right.
healing is an internal journey. A cure is an external thing. I need something outside of me to fix me, versus I want to heal, which is it's a process of transformation. And
Completely.
it's a different discussion altogether.
Completely. I went to a seminar over a couple of months ago with Dr. Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton. And, one of the biggest thing that I took away from that was just the miraculousness. Cause these guys, wow, like they'll blow your mind with science. I think I have like 50 pages of notes and I probably only retained like 2 of them.
Yeah.
But the biggest message was the miraculous ability of the body to heal and the stories and programmings that we've been given from, I don't want to say big F, but it's like we've been programmed to believe that we have to take something to make our bodies work right. And if you start looking into like your genes and just the expression of genes and the fact that only 1% of things is genetic, you start to go, oh, hold on a second. Like there's another story here that we haven't really been privy to. And it's one of the ways that I really want to promote this natural healing and the ability to do things for ourselves, dealing with our emotional field and healing. Because if we do that, like if we start really looking into our emotional field, using meditation, using doctors like you who are leading edge, that are taking the whole person, the whole body, when we start doing that, we take our power back and we don't give it to people that may have an agenda that goes beyond our well-being. So I love this conversation. It's so good.
Love it.
And I want to just touch back on something that you said a little earlier, but kind of to take it a little deeper. Which patients do you see heal faster and why?
Great question. I'm going to reframe the question slightly. So I actually don't call the
Okay.
people that I work with patients. First off, because patient kind of implies that doctor. I'm the doctor.
Okay.
You're the patient. I tell you what to do. So I have practice members,
Yes.
and it's a different relationship where the relationship with a practice member is
Love
co-creative.
it.
So it's I can give you the recommendation, but we co-create together your healing. Like part of our process is you come in, and
Yes.
we have a really long conversation, less about your history, like that's part of it, but it's more about
That's
what's the
the
vision for your
past.
health. Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you want to create, and what is
I
it?
love
Where's it you really want to go? Because that's far more important. And people sometimes get mystified by this. Like, no one's ever asked me this. Like,
that. Mhm.
but I'll have folks in their 70s, 80s come in. They're like, well, here's my rap sheet. Here's my 8 pages of symptoms. And I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, this is great. Okay, what would you like your vision of your health to be? I
Right.
mean, can we
Right.
have a deeper conversation about that?
Right.
So that's the difference first. And then you asked, okay, where do they get the great results? The ones that get the best results are the ones that are co-collaborative in the process.
Yes.
And because it's one thing to come in and we're doing body work. So it's one thing to come in and receive the body work. And I've actually had a couple guys that'll say this. They're like, yeah, I just thought I'm supposed to come in, just do your thing, magic man. And then I'm going to go on my way.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the whole time I'm telling him, hey, here's these exercises you got to do. There's, we teach, we call it's called somato-respiratory integration. Soma is a fancy word that means body. Respiratory means breath. So it's like breath body integration. So these are, I think also as like consciousness exercises. Like it's like accessing different states of consciousness.
Yep.
By accessing these different states of consciousness, it can help you heal
Yep.
wounded states that you have. And the wounded ones are things like, I'm suffering, I feel disconnected, I feel unworthy, I feel unlovable. I have polarity where I'm blaming, naming, shaming everybody outside of me.
Yes.
I want the magic lotion potion pill to fix me.
Right.
But then I finally start to take responsibility and go, oh crap, I'm stuck. I keep repeating the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
And the energy of stuck is I'm frustrated. And
Yep.
you mentioned taking your power back. That's really like in my work, that's stage 4. There's 12 stages of healing. Stage
Yep.
4 is I take my power back.
Love
I
it.
say enough. I'm not living that way anymore. I'm not living in suffering or polarity or being stuck. I don't know
Yep.
what I want yet. That's actually later, but I know
Yep.
I don't want that. And I reclaim my power, and
I
I
love
take
it.
my power back. I take my life back. I take my relationship back, whatever you need to draw a new boundary on, because that's really
Yep.
what taking your power back is about. It's about drawing a new line in the sand and going, okay, I'm not living that way anymore. And it takes a lot of energy to do that. Like you see in our culture,
Yeah.
where most of our culture is living in some, stage 1 and 2 most
Yeah.
times. Just watch the news.
Yep.
The news is stage 2 all day long.
Yep.
It's us versus them, back and forth. Da 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 da.
Yep.
Occasionally we get to where like, oh man, we just keep repeating this stupid problem, and occasionally we get to a stage 4. But again, it takes a lot of energy in the nervous system to maintain that. So people will drop back down to lower energy states. So
Totally. Totally.
the practice members that I see that get the best results start to embody this. They start to encode their DNA. They're encoding their nervous system with these states, and they're processing through old ones, even lineage stuff. Like this
Yep.
is, it's my grandmother's stuff. It's my grandfather's. It's whatever. It's energy, some
Yep.
form of energy, and they're processing through that, and they're creating new boundaries. They're creating new ways of living, new ways of being, new states of that they want to be in. They want to be in gratitude or love or joy or excitement. Like these are new standards that they're setting for themselves that are different than the old ones. But that takes a conscious effort.
Yeah.
And I would say that the folks that just come on and kind of get on the table get this, and then the ones that do the work get
Totally.
that hockey stick.
And it's a conscious effort. This is totally a conversation that I've had before in a lot of my different shows of like identity creation and how when you start to become someone new, when you start to make that decision of I'm leaving this behind and I'm not doing this anymore, that it will be a conscious every moment decision to not go back. I've taught hundreds and hundreds of people universal law of attraction and thoughts become things, and worked really deeply with people on their traumas. And some people will say to me, and I know because they've disappeared, it's just, this is hard. It was much easier when
Yeah,
I wasn't conscious of my responsibility in the situation.
yeah. Well,
Right?
gravity is fierce. Gravity is absolutely fierce. It is
Oh,
always trying to pull us
yeah.
back down.
Yeah.
Like the natural order of the universe
Yes.
is the entropy in a lot of ways, where if we don't apply consciousness to it and we don't apply organization to it, it's going to become unorganized. Like that is the power of
Right.
us, the creator, is to apply that will. And it's the scene in the Matrix, right? If you take the red pill and you get out of the Matrix, you know what was it? I think it was Silas having dinner with the agent. He's like, I just want to be put back in the Matrix. I want to forget. I don't want to know that, you know, this state tastes so good. I know it's not real, but I just want that again. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that I've studied with Bruce Lipton as well, and like he calls the Matrix a documentary, and he's
Yeah.
like, you can't do that. It didn't work out so well for him. Like once you're out, you can't get put back in, and
No.
that's true for all of us. There's a greater level of responsibility, the knowledge and information, wisdom. There's a greater level of responsibility that comes when you have that.
And
You can't
it's
go
so
back.
worth it. Like, it's so worth it to just keep going and keep exposing and keep healing, because on the other side of that, there's the power of creation. You're thinking it's easier to just be random and create by default. But then, one day you wake up and you're like, okay, I've been living these cycles for the last 10 years and they're just every day I don't feel good about life. And instead, you could be over here, meditating, taking control of situations, manifesting all of the stuff that universal law teaches, and getting really knowledgeable about your output, what you're putting out, and having control. Like you talked about emotional intelligence. That's like one of my favorite things is we've got to gain control of our emotional field, because that's the signals that we're constantly sending. And before I started this work, I didn't think that I had the ability to have control over my thoughts or my emotions. I'm like, I feel what I feel. I don't know how many times I said that to my husband. It's like, I can't help what I feel. And it's like, yes, you can. Your feelings are a decision that are based on whatever traumas you have not looked at and healed and come away from deciding, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I'm not going to be that person that's wounded by every single person that blows me off, or, like I'm not going to look for love where it resides inside of me. I'm going to look inside, I'm going to create it inside, and then life is going to reflect it to me.
Yeah. Can I give a little nuance on my understanding of that?
Please, please, please. I love it.
So here's my take on this, and this is my hallucination of reality on this. I'm still in the inquiry and the exploration of this topic too, because
Totally.
it's like, I don't know about you, but I never got the manual for life. Like no
No.
one ever said, "Hey, here's how this shit works." Like the whole purpose of this thing is to kind of figure it out along the way.
Yep.
And this is the nuance that served me the most. Let me put it that way.
Yep.
So we have these traumas, we have these life experiences, and there's it's energy, emotion, it's stored emotion, right?
Yep.
Well, it's like, how do you know that you're storing anger? How do you
Yes.
know that you're storing grief? How do you know that you're storing abandonment or fear of loss, or any of these emotions, right?
Yep.
Life reflects it back to us.
Yes.
So we have some circumstance, event of life. Like this is where I think the law of attraction gets a little wonky, right? So it's like,
Totally.
well, I get in a car wreck.
Yep.
Was I thinking about car wrecks, and that's why I got in the car wreck? Probably not.
No.
However, what was the emotion that you experienced the moment you got in the car wreck? Like,
Yep.
oh, I don't have any money. How am I going to do this? That guy was such an asshole.
Yep.
What's his problem?
Yep.
Oh my God, I don't have any time, and now I got to deal with this car thing.
Yep.
It's like, boom, in that moment, event happens, and then boom, you have all these emotions that
Yep.
come up out of it.
Yep.
Now, I don't think that's a choice.
No.
I don't think you get a choice with that.
No.
What you can choose is now, okay, what can you do with that emotion now? So if you watch kids, true emotions are seconds to minutes. I mean,
Yes.
kids are, I got little kids again. So, they're in and out of emotions all day. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm Superman. I mean, like, they're all over the place.
Totally.
And it's just a matter of like, okay, look, we were never taught this as kids to, like, it's okay to have emotions. Just go out a public place and watch people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, stop crying. Here's some food. Oh, hey, stop crying. Here's a video game.
Totally.
Oh, here, do this. Like,
Totally.
we're not allowed to have emotions. Like that's culturally what we were taught. So that stuff's still in our nervous system too. So we have these emotions that come up. Now we get to make the choice. We can stuff it back down. Like, oh, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel this. This is the, I'm going to call it, and I love this community too. I'm part of it. So, but I'm going to, it's the personal development community. It's the hippie, spiritual, woo-woo community. It's like, don't don't bring that negative in here. Make that negative go away. It's spiritual bypass where it's like, stuff that shit down. Don't bring it up. Don't talk about it. Don't bring it up. It's not okay. It's the spiritual version of what our parents did to us. They just shamed us and guilted us for it. This is
sent us to our room.
Yeah, send us to our room. This is you don't want to have that because there's negative consequence. No, it's the same bullshit. So it's just a different vibrational tone, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's really okay. What's the other option? It's like to feel it, to just express it and allow yourself to be with it and go, wow, I'm really having a lot of anger. Let me go yell into my arm. Let me just experience rage. Let me use this 4-letter word that begins with an F.
Yeah.
Not necessarily add a U at the end of it. Just the F. It's just
express.
Let me express that for what it is. And once I do, I'm free of it. And I can then, get my hands on my body. I can do some meditation. I can do lots of other tools to then process, like, okay, where's this coming from? Where else have I had this? Like, man, I can trace this back my whole life.
Yep.
And I can begin to heal that wound, that trauma. Now, it's not to say that you're not ever going to have that emotion again, because you are meant to have emotions. You're meant to have a range of emotions.
Yep.
Like, your range of emotions is the range of life.
Yep.
Your inability to express rage is your inability to express and feel love.
Yep.
So those live on, all of these emotions live on a continuum. And where we suppress one thing, we lose something else.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
So my view of it is, we have these circumstances of life, and business and relationships are probably the two best ones. And health can be one too, but I find that businesses and relationships trigger the most stuff
Yep.
for all of us. Like
Yep.
I do some business coaches, marketing consulting coach. I call it marketing consulting, but really it's like business coaching for, for other docs.
Yep.
And really, it's like once you teach the stuff, the marketing, the sales, like that's the easy stuff. The
Yep.
hard part is, hey, you had this event happen. What this shit triggered in you, what are you going to do with it now? How are you going to process it?
Yep.
And what are you going to make it mean? How can you learn from this? Like that's the real work in all of these modalities. So I don't think that emotions are wrong. I don't think we need to stuff them down because that's just another spiritual bypass. I see this with folks a lot where it's like, I'm just avoiding this. It's like I want to live up here. I want to be, sunshine, lollipops, rainbows, and roses, but my life is a disaster. It's I have crap relationships. My health is horrible. My business sucks. I don't have any money. Can't do any finances. But love and light. So I mean, that's the and again, I love this crowd. I'm with you. I'm with you on this.
Yeah,
but it's like we haven't embodied the whole piece of it.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work, and that's I think that's one of the messages that has been, really misconstrued in law of attraction. And it's like, oh, if I just feel good all the time. My husband and I were going through like a really hard financial time in 2009, like everybody else, and kind of lost everything we had. And I remember us going for walks and trying to just feel good. And all day long, we were like, okay, if we just feel good, good things are going to happen. And like the electricity's getting shut off, the cars are getting repossessed, like all this stuff is happening. And I'm like, I think we need to do something else. Like we need to get out there and create action and income instead of being like, oh, if I just feel good, money's going to fall from the sky. And it's like, no, you have to. And we were so fearful.
Or just give yourself 60 seconds to feel really shitty.
Yes. Yeah.
Like giving yourself that permission and space. Like everyone's allowed to have a pity party, and just keep it relatively short. Like if you're days, weeks, 6 months into a pity party, like, okay, now you're just living. You're no longer in the emotion. You're in the mentalization of the emotion. Like, oh, I've been angry for 9 months. Bullshit.
Oh, that's good. That's
like
good.
If you were really angry, again, you just go scream that 4-letter word.
Yeah.
And you'd be done with anger. And now you can start making a decision about what you want to do. So most of us mentalize all of these emotions rather than actually getting the emotion out of the head into the body, feeling the emotion, and then moving on from the emotion. Does that make sense? Making sense with that?
Okay, wait. Yeah, it makes total sense, but I got to go back to it for a second because it was like epic. So anytime your emotions have taken over for a long period of time, it's a mentalization. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. So think of it this way. So stage one. Yeah. So stage one of my work is suffering. And I think it's a Buddhist saying. It's like all suffering is the avoidance of suffering. And most of us are shitty sufferers. We've never been taught how to suffer properly. So if this is where suffering is, rather than diving through the center of it, most of us dance around on the surface of it. We do low levels of suffering that we prolong for a really, really, really long time.
Okay.
Versus going, let me dive through the center of this. Let me surrender to it. Let me experience what total unworthiness feels like. Let me experience what being unlovable really feels like. Let me truly, like I see a lot of people with chronic conditions, and there's a feeling of, I feel like this is never going to end.
Yep.
Let's surrender to that, to feeling like this is never going to end. What if this never changes? Let me just totally feel that and embody it and surrender to it. Now, the nervous system will have us believe that if we do that, we're going to die. If we do any of these, if we experience any of these things, we're going to die.
Yep.
Like that's what the mind will tell us. Like, no, I can't let myself go there because if I go there, I'm never going to come back. Like that's the belief system that we have. That's what's underneath it. The reality is the opposite. That again, the true emotions are seconds to minutes, so we can allow ourselves to experience these for a minute, 2 minutes, 60 seconds. Maybe if you're first new to this, you got to experience it for 5 minutes, and you're in tears and you're sobbing mess and you're on the floor and you're totally gone. Maybe it's a muscle, right? So if you've never done this before, maybe these first few times, like it kicks your ass. Maybe. Yeah. But get some support, get people around you that can help witness you and hold you and be present for you through this work. But if you truly allow yourself to experience it, it goes quick.
Yep.
And then once you start to do it, like you give yourself permission to do that on a daily basis, it's fast.
Yeah.
Like life will happen. It's
Yep.
like, man, I felt like shit from that. Let me
Yep.
just get my hands in my body. Let me
Yep.
just feel that. Wow. And on the other side of that suffering is joy.
Right.
There's joy to the suffering. There's
So
like,
true.
oh, I needed this. I needed to see this to heal this aspect of me or to appreciate this other thing so much more. And you can go from sadness to laughter in instance.
So
It,
true.
that's the power of that. That's emotional mastery.
Yeah.
To be able to not control your emotions, but to be able to
Yep.
express them fully
Yep.
wherever you're at with it.
Yeah.
And then to start generating whatever it is you want. Like you can do exercises to start putting yourself in gratitude, to putting yourself in awe or grace or
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're all after.
Yeah. That's what
Does
that's
that
actually,
help?
yes, that helps so much. That's actually what I teach. I teach frequency tuning. So I have a 21-day abundance activation group right now on WhatsApp. And that's what we're doing every day. Every day they're meditating to a guided meditation. And then there's an activity. And that activity is about either letting things go. And so this group has been amazing, so vulnerable, just like really sharing their hearts in this group. And I'm like, wow, the power of the community to do this together and to support one another. And then to take that, whatever emotions are coming up, and start tuning your frequency towards gratitude, abundance, love, freedom, all of that. The shift in people in just 21 days is phenomenal. So
Yeah.
I love that you just talked about that. It's so impactful, and we have the power to do all of this, right? It's all there. So I just want to put up your Facebook. I'm going to put up a couple of quick links right now so people can find you. So this is your Facebook. Where are you most active? Is it on Facebook?
Most active on Facebook. Yeah. So all the handles are at Dr. Joshua Sharpe, Dr.
Okay,
Joshua
that's
Sharpe.
easy to
So
find. And we've got your Instagram. And then I want to the chiropractic.com, like if there is some doctors out there that or entrepreneurs that want guidance in some of the stuff that you do as far as consulting, is this where they would find you?
that's probably the best place. Yeah. Or just
Okay.
reach out to me on social media.
All right, perfect.
One
Or
of
reach
those.
out on Facebook. I love it.
We
Okay,
we have
cool. I
the
just want to
so
get
I
this up
have
so people can connect with you because I do forget.
the group I've been running with that is I call it the Awaken Leader group. Like it's like a command, like, hey,
Oh yeah,
awaken
I have
leader.
that, right? Yep.
Yeah, like it's your time. It's
Yes, I love it.
people like you, like me, like there's lots of us out there, right? Like my mission is to help evolve consciousness to change the paradigm of health. That's really what all of this has been
Yes.
since my brother got sick. And I looked at it and I'm like, you know, how many spines can I really put my hands on? Like there's a finite number to that.
Right.
Maybe it's a few thousand, maybe it's 10,000. It's maybe that's 100,000 if I'm really active.
Right.
But there's a cap to that versus, okay, how can I help you? How can I help another doc? How can I help, more of us that have this message? We can
Yep.
start to get out there to more and more people. And then we can
Yep.
start a tidal wave that crashes this, because you can't create, like, you can't change a paradigm from within the paradigm. Like, you have to
Right.
create a new paradigm that
Yep.
just people go, wow, that's a better, I like that outcome better. Let me come over to that
Yep.
paradigm to shift.
I love it.
That's really what the message is about. It's like I can't do it alone, and I don't want to be the guru, or that's not my desire to
Yep.
do that. I'd rather empower others
Yep.
because you have a unique message that you're going to land with people that people aren't going to land with me.
Yes.
So it's all of that.
And that's been a big change in the work that we're doing is, we're not looking to be people's gurus. We're not looking to say, hey, I have all the answers. Like you said a little while ago, we're still processing. I would never say I have this all figured out. I would say I have it figured out really well right now. But as far as the expanding and growing, we're doing it all together. So for us to go, okay, we're going to help you to connect with your intuition, to connect with your answers, and I love the co-creative part of healing together, because if we do that, then people have a say in their healing, which is way more empowering than saying, here, take this pill and hopefully it's going to make you feel better. So, so that's feel like that's the new wave is we're not trying to sell people anything. We're trying to sell people on believing in themselves, right?
Yeah. Well, we're so cultured to. I mean,
Yeah.
just watch the news. I mean, if you do watch, I haven't watched the news in years.
I don't
I
want
came
to.
back from Afghanistan in 2007. I didn't have cable for 6 months, and I'm like, I'm
Yep.
just not going to buy this again.
No.
It was
Yep.
so, but they're the only ones paying for the ads. Like,
So
and
true.
what's the script for every ad? Do you
Yeah.
have such and such
Yep.
and such and such?
Yep.
If you do, ask your doctor
Yep.
about so and so. It's like, so you have this symptom,
Yep.
the symptom you have is the problem.
Yep.
Go ask your doctor.
Yep.
I want power outside of myself
Yep.
to get this pill to take away that symptom or pain.
And then have all these other symptoms from it.
Well, it could, right. So yeah, because if you look at like, you have a chart of, hey, this one chemical, where all the receptor sites in the body for this chemical. If it's a chemical that affects the liver, if you look at a chart, it's like, okay, where else does it affect? Well, it affects the brain, it affects the joints, it affects the kidneys, it affects everything. So we call the things that we like effects. We call the things that we don't like side effects, but really they're all effects.
They're all
Like,
effects. Yeah.
they're all effects.
Yep.
So I mean, that's the general message that we're getting from mainstream versus it's hard to break people out of that model, and
I
that
know.
it's having that conversation like, what is pain? To me, pain's not the problem. Pain is the messenger.
Yes.
Pain is that messenger that's saying, stop, pay attention, listen. There's something about how you're living life
Yep.
that is not in congruence with who you are.
Yep.
At a soul level, at a physical level, at a mental, emotional level, at all those levels, it's like, ouch, my shoulder hurts. But yeah, that could be a physical thing, but it also could be, I hate my job.
Yeah.
And I'm really unhappy in this soul sucking work that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm stressed out all the time.
Yep.
Like, that's not a physical shoulder problem.
No. There's a couple of things like I actually just realized that a lot of people struggle with plantar fasciitis, and I had plantar fasciitis for like a year, and
Yeah.
I wore
Yeah, actually.
I wore a band on my arch while I was sleeping at night, and it cured it. And I did some exercises from like
Was it
YouTube.
the Strasbourg sock? I tried
Yes.
that one. Yes.
So, and I had frozen shoulder for a while. What they call frozen shoulder, where I could not lift my arm and it was really painful. And I started going for physical therapy for that. And I had a massage therapist who released it from my armpit. But the biggest thing about both of those things, because I'm watching people on Facebook the other day with this plantar fasciitis, and I'm like, people are so, and this has to do with the programming over the last 100 years, maybe more, of being in the problem. So if we're in the problem, in the symptom, and we're treating the symptom, we're not in the solution of the whole body connection. So just realizing that and going, all right, people are like, oh, you have plantar fasciitis and you have it forever. And I'm like, no, you don't. It's
Right.
just, or when you have frozen shoulder, it goes to surgery. Like, that's where people go with it. It's like,
Right.
I'm going to have surgery because I'm in pain. It's like, what other
Do you know what the
modality?
surgery is for frozen shoulder?
No.
It's called manipulation under anesthesia. It's basically they knock you out, and
Yeah.
then they just physically pull the shoulder out and they move it all around, and they actually just move it around to break up all the adhesions.
The entanglement, right? It's like an
And then
entanglement.
they wake you back up. I mean, it's really not. I mean, there's some other physical things they can do, but that's the big one. And it's interesting. You have those symptoms, and it's like, well, what's really going on in your life? Like, that's the conversation that I generally have with people. And to get in the seat and to talk to people, it's maybe like 5% of the time that it's a physical thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you truly think about it, like, your body recreates itself every 7 years.
I love
Your
this.
gut lining is a new gut lining every 2 to 3 days. Like,
Amazing.
all the way down to, like, except for like the dentin in your teeth, your body is exchanging cells out. It's living, it's alive, it's dynamic. Like, it's constantly moving and changing and remodeling. All the, our bones, it's all changing.
Yep.
So those cells come out, those atoms come out. You have entirely different atoms than what you did
Amazing.
7 years ago. So
Amazing.
if you have entirely different atoms, your cells are all different, your organs are all different, and you still have the same chronic pain that you had from a car wreck 20 years ago, is that the car wreck.
Yeah,
Is that the physical car wreck?
I totally agree.
Or is there some, like what's still organizing that field? Now, you could also say, well, the neurology is mapped that we have an increased pain receptors, but it's like, okay, well, what's telling the body to create that?
There's so much to it. There's so
So
much.
there's a lot to it.
So we're like out of time. I can't believe this. And
Oh,
I'm so sad
sure.
about it. But I think I have to have you on again. I think that we could talk here. And I
Great.
think this was a super important conversation. And I am so incredibly blessed. And you and we're gonna do some stuff together. I don't
Cool. I like that
doubt
idea.
that. I'm so excited. So just hang on for a second. I'm gonna close out the show and we'll talk for a second before we close.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
being
much for having me
here.
on. I appreciate
Oh
it.
my gosh, this was so good. So, so good. Thank you. All right, one sec. Okay, here we go.